August 7th, 1942, the Solomon Islands. A young Marine named Jake Thompson stands on the deck of a transport ship, watching Guadalcanal emerge from the morning mist like a green fortress rising from the Pacific. 20 years old, fresh from training. His rifle feels heavier than it did yesterday, but his heart races with something he mistakes for courage. Jake believed war would be simple. Clean lines between heroes and enemies. Glory waiting on distant shores. The recruitment posters promised honor. His father's stories from the Great War spoke of camaraderie and purpose. Now, as the island grows larger on the horizon, Jake grips the railing and tells himself he's ready. He tells himself he'll make his family proud. He tells himself he knows what's coming. He knows nothing. The landing boats hit the beach at 8 in the morning. Jake's boots sink into black sand that seems to pull at him, as if the island itself wants to swallow him whole. The heat strikes like a physical force. Within minutes, his uniform clings to his skin, soaked through with sweat that won't stop flowing. The jungle ahead is a wall of green so dense it looks impenetrable. Somewhere in that vegetation, the enemy waits. The first shots come without warning. A Marine 20 feet from Jake drops without a sound, a red stain blooming across his chest. The jungle erupts with gunfire. Jake's training takes over, his body moving before his mind can process the terror flooding through him. He runs. He shoots at shadows. He tastes metal in his mouth and realizes he's bitten his own tongue. By nightfall, Jake's unit has pushed half a mile inland. They dig foxholes in mud that breeds mosquitoes by the thousands. The insects swarm in clouds, biting through clothing, crawling into ears and noses. Jake slaps at them frantically, but they keep coming. Always coming. His friend Marcus, who enlisted the same day Jake did, whispers in the darkness. His voice shakes. The confidence they shared on the transport ship has evaporated like morning dew. Marcus talks about his girl back home, about the letter he's going to write. Jake listens and tries to ignore the sounds from the jungle. Rustling movement. The Japanese are out there, watching, waiting for morning. Jake closes his eyes but cannot sleep. Every sound becomes a threat. Every shadow promises death. This isn't the war from the posters. This isn't glory. This is heat and fear and the constant awareness that life has become impossibly fragile. That the boy he was yesterday is already gone, replaced by something harder, more desperate. The night stretches endlessly. Jake's mind races through memories of home, of peaceful mornings and Sunday dinners and a mother's embrace. These memories feel like they belong to someone else. Some other Jake Thompson who existed in some other world where young men didn't crouch in tropical mud, waiting for dawn, wondering if they'll survive to see tomorrow. When the sun finally rises, painting the jungle in shades of golden shadow, Jake emerges from his foxhole with muscles cramped and a soul already beginning to fracture. He has been in Guadalcanal for less than 24 hours. He has a lifetime left to endure. The third night on Guadalcanal arrives with orders that turn Jake's stomach into knots. Night assault. Those two words spread through the ranks like poison. They're moving against a Japanese position dug into a ridge 2 miles inland. Officers speak in hushed tones about strategy and objectives, but Jake hears only one truth beneath their words. Some of them won't come back. Marcus stays close as they prepare. His hands tremble while checking his ammunition. Jake notices but says nothing. They all tremble now. Fear has become their constant companion, more present than the officers who command them, more reliable than the supply lines that never bring enough food or water or medicine. The jungle at night transforms into something primordial. Every step forward feels like walking into a mouth that could close at any moment. Jake's platoon moves in silence, 40 men trying to become invisible. The darkness is absolute. Moon and stars hide behind thick canopy. They navigate by touch and instinct and pure desperate hope. The shooting starts before Jake understands what's happening. Muzzle flashes erupt from the ridge like fireflies from hell. Men scream, bodies fall. Jake fires blindly into the darkness, his rifle kicking against his shoulder again and again. The noise is deafening. The chaos is complete. Then Marcus is beside him, and then Marcus is falling. Jake catches him, feels the wetness spreading across his friend's chest. Marcus's eyes are wide, confused, as if he's trying to understand how this happened, how they went from laughing on the transport ship to this moment. Blood pools black in the darkness. Marcus tries to speak, but only blood comes out. His body goes rigid, then slack. Just like that. One breath, then nothing. Jake holds his friend's corpse, and something breaks inside him. Not cleanly, not mercifully. It breaks jagged and sharp, leaving pieces that cut from within. The war isn't an adventure. It isn't glory. It's Marcus dead in his arms. It's the weight of a body that was alive seconds ago. It's the knowledge that Jake will carry this moment forever. The assault continues around him. Marines push forward. The Japanese position eventually falls. Victory is declared. Numbers are counted. Objectives are achieved. None of it matters to Jake, who moves through the rest of the night like a ghost, performing actions without thought, following orders without comprehension. Dawn reveals the true cost. Bodies scattered across the ridge. American, Japanese. Young men from different worlds, now united in death. Jake walks among them and cannot remember why any of this matters, cannot remember what they're fighting for. Cannot remember the boy who stepped onto this island 3 days ago believing in heroes. That night, in his foxhole, Jake closes his eyes and Marcus is there, falling, always falling. The image repeats endlessly. Jake opens his eyes, but the vision remains. He understands now that closing his eyes changes nothing. The dead stay with you. They live in the spaces between heartbeats. They whisper in the silence. They remind you that survival is random and meaningless and temporary. Jake's hands won't stop shaking. His mind won't stop replaying the moment. Officers talk about tomorrow's operations, but Jake hears only white noise. The war has taught him its first lesson. Innocence dies first. Everything else follows. And Guadalcanal has barely begun. The enemy Jake fears most doesn't carry a rifle. It lives in the water they drink, in the air they breathe, in the mud that never dries. Malaria arrives on the 10th day. Jake wakes shivering despite the suffocating heat. His body convulses with chills that rattle his bones. Sweat pours from his skin, soaking through his already filthy uniform. The fever climbs higher, turning the world into a blur of shapes and shadows. He tries to stand for morning formation, but his legs buckle. He collapses back into the foxhole. The corpsman has no quinine left. Supplies are delayed, always delayed. Ships carrying medicine sit somewhere across the Pacific, while men shake and burn and die from diseases that shouldn't kill anyone. The corpsman offers water and sympathy. Neither helps. Jake drinks and vomits, drinks and vomits. His body rejects everything. For 3 days, Jake exists in a fevered nightmare. Reality and hallucination merge into one continuous hell. He sees Marcus standing at the edge of his foxhole, blood still pouring from his chest. He sees his mother crying in their kitchen back home. He sees Japanese soldiers who aren't there. His mind fractures under the fever's assault. When the fever finally breaks, Jake has lost 12 pounds. His uniform hangs loose on a frame that was already too thin. He looks around the camp and sees the same hollowed-out faces everywhere. Marines who landed here strong and confident now shuffle like old men. Disease is winning the war the Japanese cannot. Private Miller dies on Jake's 15th day. Not from bullets, not from grenades, from dysentery that emptied him out until nothing remained. He was 19. Jake helped bury him in the jungle soil, just another cross among dozens. The grave was shallow because nobody had the strength to dig deeper. Jake begins to understand that Guadalcanal is a test of endurance, not courage. Bravery means nothing when your intestines turn to water. Training doesn't prepare you for the moment your body becomes your enemy. The jungle doesn't care about patriotism or duty, or the reasons men convince themselves to fight. At night, Jake listens to the sounds of other men suffering, groaning, vomiting, crying quietly into their hands. The medical tent overflows with bodies that continue breathing but have stopped living in any meaningful way. They wait for supplies that never come. They wait for relief that never arrives. They wait and waste away. Jake writes a letter home but cannot find honest words. How does he tell his mother that he's more afraid of mosquitoes than bullets? How does he explain that the greatest battle he fights each day is simply staying alive until tomorrow? How does he describe the smell of infected wounds, the taste of contaminated water, the feeling of watching friends die from preventable diseases? He writes instead about the weather, about missing home cooking, about looking forward to his return, lies dressed as comfort. His mother will read them and imagine her son is fine. She won't know that the boy who left is already gone, replaced by this hollow thing that shares his name. Jake folds the letter and realizes he's forgotten why he came here. The purpose has been eroded by disease and death and the relentless brutality of survival. Guadalcanal takes everything, even meaning. August 21st, 1942. Intelligence reports whisper through the ranks like a death sentence. Japanese forces are massing east of the perimeter. A major assault is coming. Jake's hands shake as he checks his rifle for the 100th time. 2 weeks on this island have taught him that intelligence reports mean bodies. American bodies, Japanese bodies, bodies stacked like cordwood in the tropical heat. The night brings sounds that freeze blood, hundreds of voices screaming across the Tenaru River. Banzai charges that seem to come from everywhere at once. The Japanese attack in waves, fearless or insane or perhaps both. They run directly into machine gun fire, falling by dozens, yet more keep coming. Always more. Jake fires until his rifle barrel glows hot, reloads, fires again. The muzzle flashes illuminate scenes from Nightmare. Japanese soldiers climbing over their own dead to reach American positions. Hand-to-hand combat in the darkness, bayonets and screaming and the wet sounds of metal entering flesh. This isn't war. This is slaughter dressed in uniform. Corporal Hayes fights beside Jake until a grenade explodes 3 feet away. The blast throws Jake backward. His ears ring with a high-pitched whine that drowns out everything else. He sees Hayes lying in pieces, but cannot hear his own screaming, cannot hear anything except that terrible ringing that announces the world has fundamentally broken. Dawn reveals carnage that defies comprehension. Hundreds of Japanese bodies piled at the river crossing. The water runs red, literally red. Jake stands among the dead and cannot process what he's seeing. His mind refuses to accept this as real. This many dead, this much blood, this complete and total destruction of human life. Lieutenant Morrison orders a count. Jake walks through the aftermath, stepping over bodies, trying not to look at faces. Some are barely older than him, boys playing at being soldiers, now just meat rotting in the sun. The smell is immediate and overwhelming, sweet and sick and inescapable. Jake vomits until nothing comes up, then dry heaves until his ribs ache. That night, Jake cannot close his eyes. When he does, he's back at the river, firing, killing, watching men die. The images cycle endlessly, a loop of horror his mind cannot escape. His hands won't stop shaking, his breath comes too fast, too shallow. Panic rises like floodwater, drowning him from within. Private Johnson sits nearby, staring at nothing. His lips move silently, counting something only he can see. Jake recognizes the look. They all wear it now. The look of men who have seen too much, who have crossed a line they cannot uncross, who understand that what they did last night has changed them forever. Jake tries to remember who he was before Tenaru, before Guadalcanal, before any of this. The memories feel distant, belonging to someone else entirely. That Jake Thompson believed in right and wrong, in heroes and villains, in wars that made sense. This Jake Thompson knows only that he killed men last night. Many men. He doesn't remember their faces, but he'll never forget the act. The terrible ease of pulling a trigger, the mechanical efficiency of ending lives. The sun rises on his 3rd week in hell. Jake has stopped counting days. Time has lost meaning. Mail call arrives like a miracle on Jake's 24th day. Letters from home, smelling of perfume and normalcy and a world that seems impossible now. Jake's mother writes about the harvest, about neighbors asking after him, about prayers said each night for his safe return. Her handwriting is careful and loving. Every word feels like it comes from another universe. Jake reads the letter 3 times, trying to remember what those words mean. Harvest, home, prayer. They're sounds without substance, concepts his mind can no longer grasp. He tries to picture his mother's face, but the image blurs, replaced by the faces of dead men at Tenaru. Memory itself has become unreliable, contaminated by what he's witnessed. Sergeant Williams gathers the platoon and reads names. Henderson, Rodriguez, Chen. Each name followed by silence. Killed in action. Jake listens and feels nothing. Numbness has become armor. Feeling anything means feeling everything, and everything is too much to bear. But then William says a name that breaks through. Tommy Patterson. Jake's neighbor from home. The kid who lived 3 houses down, who Jake taught to throw a curveball, who enlisted because Jake did. Dead in a skirmish near the airfield. 17 years old. Jake's fault for inspiring him. Jake's burden to carry forever. That night, Jake sits apart from the others and lets himself break. Silent tears that taste like salt and shame. He cries for Tommy, for Marcus, for Miller and Hayes and all the others whose names blur together into one endless litany of loss. He cries for himself, for the innocence he'll never recover, for the man he might have become in some other life. Then someone sits beside him, Private Kowalski, who never speaks much, who keeps to himself always. Kowalski doesn't say anything, just sits there in the darkness, sharing the weight. After a while, others join, 5 men sitting in silence and bound by what they've survived, connected by what they've lost. Kowalski finally speaks. His voice is rough, barely audible. He talks about his brother who died at Pearl Harbor, about the anger that brought him here, about how anger burns out faster than you expect, leaving only exhaustion behind. The others listen. Nobody judges. Nobody offers empty comfort. They simply witness each other's pain. Martinez shares next. His girl back home sent a Dear John letter. She's marrying someone else, someone safe, someone who stayed behind. Martinez laughs bitterly, but there's understanding in the sound. Why would anyone wait for a ghost? They're all ghosts now, haunting this island, already dead in the ways that matter. Jake finds himself talking. Words spill out about Tommy, about guilt and responsibility, and the impossibility of carrying both. About Marcus dying in his arms, about not knowing why any of this matters anymore. The others nod. They understand. They carry the same weight, the same questions, the same desperate need to believe there's meaning in the suffering. Dawn finds them still sitting together. The conversation has drifted to small things, food they miss, songs they love, plans for after the war that nobody believes will happen. It's not hope exactly. It's something smaller but more durable. The simple act of surviving together, of bearing witness to each other's humanity in a place designed to strip it away. Jake realizes this is all they have left, not victory, not glory, just each other. September brings orders for patrol duty. Jake's squad moves through the jungle at dawn. Hunting Japanese stragglers reported near the southern perimeter. The mission feels routine. Nothing on Guadalcanal is routine. They're 2 miles out when the jungle explodes. Gunfire from 3 directions simultaneously, a perfectly executed ambush. Jake dives behind a fallen log as bullets tear through leaves above his head. Martinez goes down immediately, screaming, clutching his leg. The screaming doesn't stop. Jake's training takes over. He fires, reloads, fires again. But the Japanese are invisible, hidden in the dense vegetation, killing from shadows. Kowalski returns fire to the left. Williams shouts orders nobody can hear over the chaos. The patrol that was 8 men is suddenly 4, then 3. A Japanese soldier bursts from the undergrowth, bayonet fixed, face twisted in determination, or terror, or both. Jake doesn't think. His body moves with mechanical precision. He rises, steps forward, drives his own bayonet into the man's chest. They stand face to face, so close Jake can see the surprise in his enemy's eyes, can smell his breath, can feel the exact moment life leaves his body. The soldier collapses. Jake stands frozen, bayonet still extended, watching blood pool in the jungle soil. This wasn't firing into darkness. This wasn't killing at distance. This was looking into another man's eyes and ending him, feeling his body resist, feeling it give way, feeling everything. The ambush ends as suddenly as it began. The surviving Japanese withdraw. Jake's squad counts their losses. 5 dead. Martinez will lose his leg if they get him back in time. 3 men standing, covered in blood, trying to understand what just happened. Jake cannot stop staring at his hands. They're steady now, perfectly steady. He killed a man, and his hands don't shake. What does that mean? What has he become that murder doesn't affect him? The soldier's face is burned into his memory. Young, maybe younger than Jake. Someone's son. Someone's brother. Now just another body rotting in the jungle because Jake was faster, luckier, more willing to kill. The walk back to camp takes hours. Jake moves mechanically, one foot in front of the other, carrying the weight of what he's done. The other survivors don't speak. There's nothing to say. They've all crossed the same line now. They're all killers. Not soldiers defending freedom. Not heroes fighting evil. Just killers who happen to survive. That night, Jake sits in his foxhole and tries to pray. The words won't come. God feels impossibly distant, if he exists at all. How can God exist in a place like this? How can any meaning survive this much meaningless death? Jake killed a man today, felt his life end. And the worst part, the part that truly breaks him, is that he'd do it again without hesitation. Survival has become the only morality that matters. Williams finds him before dawn, asks if he's okay. Jake almost laughs. Okay, what does that word even mean anymore? He's alive. His heart still beats. His lungs still draw breath. But okay. Jake Thompson isn't okay. Jake Thompson is gone, replaced by this thing that kills without remorse, that feels nothing but the dull ache of existing. He tells Williams he's fine. Another lie in an endless series. October 23rd, 1942. 11 weeks since Jake first stepped onto this cursed island. Command orders a final push against remaining Japanese positions along the Matanikau River. This is it, the decisive battle. The end of Guadalcanal. They promise. Jake has learned not to believe promises. His platoon assembles at dawn. 23 men from the original 60 who landed together. The missing aren't just numbers, they're faces, names, stories cut short. Jake looks at the survivors and sees mirrors of himself, hollow eyes, gaunt faces, bodies that move but souls already partially departed. The artillery barrage begins at 0600. Shells scream overhead, pounding Japanese positions into rubble. The earth shakes, trees explode, the jungle itself seems to scream. Jake watches the destruction with detachment. He's seen so much violence that more violence barely registers. The human capacity for horror is infinite. He's learned that lesson well. At 0700, they advance. Jake moves through smoke and fire, rifle ready, mind operating on pure instinct. He's no longer afraid. Fear requires caring about outcomes, and Jake has stopped caring about anything except the next breath, the next step, the next moment of survival. The Japanese fight from concealed positions, refusing to surrender, choosing death over capture. Jake understands them now in ways he couldn't 11 weeks ago. They're not monsters. They're men who believe in something enough to die for it. Just like the Americans, just like everyone who ends up here. Convinced their cause justifies the cost. Williams goes down beside him, sniper round through the throat. He dies choking on his own blood, trying to speak, trying to say something important. Jake catches him, holds him, watches another friend die in his arms. He should feel something. Grief, anger, anything. Instead, there's only numbness. Williams becomes another name to forget, another face to blur with all the others. Jake keeps moving, keeps fighting, leads what remains of his squad because someone has to and everyone else is dead or broken. He kills efficiently, mechanically, without thought or hesitation. The man he was would be horrified. The man he's become doesn't care. By nightfall, the position is secure. Victory is declared. The battle for Guadalcanal is effectively over. American forces control the island. Strategic objectives achieved. Mission accomplished. The words mean nothing to Jake, who sits among the dead and dying, too exhausted to move, too numb to celebrate. Kowalski survived. Martinez survived but lost his leg. A dozen others from the original landing remain scattered across the island. They're the lucky ones, supposedly. Jake doesn't feel lucky. He feels empty. Guadalcanal has taken everything that mattered and left him with this shell that breathes and walks and kills when ordered. Orders come for evacuation. They're rotating out, heading to Australia for rest and refit. Home, eventually, though Jake can't imagine what home means anymore. Can't picture himself in that peaceful place with these memories, these scars, this knowledge of what humans do to each other when given permission. The transport ship arrives at dawn. Jake climbs aboard without looking back. Guadalcanal disappears into the morning mist. But it doesn't matter. The island will never leave him. It lives in his nightmares, in his trembling hands, in the faces of the dead that visit him between heartbeats.